Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. Turkey is strengthening its presence in the Horn of Africa as over the span of a month, the nation made 2 deals with Somalia in the areas of defense and energy. This comes at a time of growing tensions in the region as the US and UK keep retaliating against Houthi rebel attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea. But Somalia is also against the controversial European-led port deal, one that's had the country seek assistance from Ankara to support its maritime security. But the latest deal between the two nations is about oil and natural gas exploration in Somalia's land and sea blocks. The Turkish energy minister and his Somali counterpart signed the agreement in Ankara. Turkiye has long provided financial and humanitarian support to Somalia, where it has a military facility. It gives training to the Somali army. Ankara also supports Mogadishu in its dispute with landlocked Ethiopia, as Addis Ababa had signed a deal with Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland, which will give it access to the sea. While Somalia's parliament has approved the defense and economic cooperation agreement with Turkiye, a security deal with the United Arab Emirates is yet to be ratified since last year. And joining me now to discuss Turkey's growing relations with Somalia is Thomas O'Donnell from Berlin. He is a global fellow at Wilson Center and energy strategist. And from Trieste, Italy, Federico Donelli. He is an assistant professor of international relations at University of Trieste. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. So, Thomas, the oil and natural gas exploration agreements came after just 2 weeks. Somalia passed a bilateral defense and economic cooperation pact, a 10-year agreement that gives Turkey to protect its territorial waters. Is this a coincidental, the timing of these agreements? I mean, which them coming one after another?
Well, thank you for having me, Asha, again. Of course, coincidences do happen. I'd be a little bit skeptical. You see, it's been known for some time that Somalia has significant offshore reserves of oil and perhaps gas, but oil. It was actually a couple years ago when they had the first bid round and a small American company bought in, and there's a lot of talk that bigger companies like Exxon and so forth might come. So it's been there for a while. If the Turkish companies wanted to get in, maybe they would have gotten in earlier. But what happens here is, of course, after Ethiopia made the deal with Somaliland to have a port, Turkey immediately responded within a month. That was January. Then in February, they responded with a defense agreement. And then within another month, we have this agreement to develop the offshore oil, which I'm sure there is interest in, but it sort of cements everything.
So, Federico, what do you make of this latest agreement between Turkey and Somalia? And what do you think is at stake for Ankara to cooperate with Mogadishu on exploration, assessment, development, and finally production of on Somalia's onshore and offshore blocks?
Latest one is just the last step in a path that Turkey began in 2011 with the decision to invest a lot on the security, on the state building process and humanitarian development of Somalia. Of course, right now, there are multiple reasons behind the decision to increase the cooperation. As Thomas said, the fact that this deal arrived just a couple of months later than the MOU between Ethiopia and Somaliland is not a coincidence. But at the same time, we have to consider that Turkey invested a lot and would like to still invest in Mogadishu and Somalia stability, not only for political reasons, but also for economic reasons. So the energy deal could be one of these economic reasons behind.
So, but Federico, experts suggest that the development of gas and oil would cost at least a few $1 billion. So since Somalia appears as insecure to many national and international companies, could Turkish naval presence and military assistance against terrorism generate some interest moving on?
That is the biggest challenge for not only for maritime security, but also for the Somalia stability. We know that the offensive against Al-Shabaab launched by the Mogadishu government in 2022, right now it seems that is following a low profile, but is still ongoing. And we are not sure about the stability in some areas, especially outside Mogadishu. So most probably Turkey expect to the involvement also of other international stakeholders, especially maritime security, because what we have seen with the Houthi attack against the Red Sea ships is important and is still considered important not only by Turkey, but also by other partners like European countries and, of course, the United States.
So, Federico, what do you think? Turkey will most likely be needing an international cooperation, but are there any countries opposing to this deal, and what are the challenges?
No, I don't see any country opposing directly to this deal. Of course, when we consider the regional dynamics, we have to consider the role that UAE, especially the Emirates, are playing in the Berbera and Addis Ababa corridor. So this is important. But right now, I'm still seeing more convergence of interest between UAE and Turkey than collision.
So, Thomas, what do you think? I mean, as just Federico mentioned, besides Turkey, we know that the United Arab Emirates has heavily invested in Somalia, but I think recently it began reducing its funding for several Somali National Army brigades. So does this have anything to do with this increasing Turkish and ongoing Qatari activities in the region?
Well, it could. It could very well. I mean, there's so many pieces moving around the whole region that it's very hard to tell, A, what the strategy of different countries are and what the hopes they have. I mean, we all know that the sort of elephant in the room here is what's going on right now in Gaza. But, you know, we have Turkey making historic reach out now to Egypt, having relations, which has a lot for Egypt. I mean, it's not only security issues, but that's obviously got to do with gas in the whole Eastern Mediterranean. Gas and oil is very important to Turkey. They need this and they want to get it from diverse sources and sources as close to home as possible for geopolitical and geoeconomic reasons. Well, here the same thing in East Africa. There's a number of countries that recently seem to have significant reserves. Mozambique, Uganda, let's see, well, and also Somalia. There's also Tanzania, I should add. So Turkey has a direct interest in getting involved in this sector and bringing this gas and oil back home. Now, also, Turkey has another problem in that, well, put it this way, in the close abroad, a number of countries, whether it's Iraq or Syria, have a heavy, or Lebanon, have a heavy Iranian role. And so for Turkey to exert its influence in the region, it's got this problem, sort of this blockage from Iran. And Iran is raising its star because of its, rather easily, because of its reputation for supporting Gaza. So Turkey's in a situation where they have to be very active, proactive, and given the resources, the money that's available, trying to form alliances all the way from Egypt, Sudan, and into what we're talking about now, Somalia. Military also.
So, Federico, if we get back to these latest deals, this economic, defense, and energy deals, could this cause a new frictions in relations between the United Arab Emirates and Turkey, which recently saw a thaw after years of tensions?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I don't see this kind of evidences so far. Of course, if we consider the position of UAE on Somaliland and especially on the deal between Ethiopia and Somaliland and the position of Turkey in support of the integrity of Somalia, we can find definitely some different vision for the future of the region. At the same time, I believe that the economic development of the region will pass through the security development in the region. So the two actions most probably are interrelated and could in some way foster more stability in the area. Of course, we've got some friction, some reaction, especially rhetorically. But right now, I see the two policies in some way connected to each other.
So, Thomas, what do you think was the reason, maybe another reason, behind Somalia's choice of Turkey as a protector of its territorial waters? Did Turkey's status also as a NATO member have any bearing on this?
Well, yeah, of course. Turkey's a heavyweight. So what's its choices? Somalia wasn't about to go to Iran, right? And so this has been a relationship for some period of time. I note that the defense minister who recently met the Turkish defense minister, he was trained in Turkey, educated in Turkey. So this is sort of a deep relationship that goes back some time. It's, this is a way in which Turkey can have a presence in that area. And if I could just back up, I agree with my colleague that security and energy go hand in hand here. One advantage, just insofar as developing the oil offshore, it is offshore. It's not onshore. And so usually when there's conflict onshore, the offshore can be somewhat separated from that. So you can see that's something that probably Turkey can pull off with its Navy and with working together with Somalia. And of course, there's many other countries, including the United States, or even China for that matter, who have an interest in the shipping in this whole region. So it's a very logical move, I'd say, by Turkey.
But so, Federico, could waters near the Horn of Africa become the next hot spot, as it already hosts naval bases, as Thomas mentioned, from Turkey, the US, China, and the UAE?
Yeah, I think that is already the hotspot of the region. I mean, after Taiwan and we can say the Asia Pacific, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, Bab el-Mandeb, all of them are a core of global competition. We can find all the players, extra-regional players, and we can see how all of them are trying to gain their own leverage on the regional countries, especially on the African side. But we have to consider what is going on in Yemen. Yemen is still the core of instability of the area, even more than Somalia. So especially for the implication on the international security. So the shipping, the slot line, so all of them. So I think that the Red Sea area is still the geostrategic area of global competition right now.
So, Thomas, just a reminder, Turkey also signed a similar offshore exploration deal with Libya in 2022, but we have seen almost no progress there. So, is this likely to change now?
That's very difficult to say. I think the hope here is there's more than one reason for the opening after a decade or more of relations between Turkey and between Mr. Erdogan and Sisi. That's quite a change, and there's a lot of pieces moving here. But as I mentioned earlier, an important piece is the Eastern Mediterranean gas. So there's this Eastern Mediterranean Gas Association, and it looks like one interest of Turkey in having that relation with Egypt is Egypt can bring Turkey into that. And that includes relations with Cyprus and with Greece.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.